Greetings everyone and welcome back to 365 Days of Prog. Today we're going to be reviewing Fall by Freedom to Glide.
Hi, my name's Naomi. I'm an avid progressive rock fan, but I'm a long ways from knowing all the prog albums out there. But this year, I'm gonna give it a try. This is 365 Days of Prog.
So we're gonna get into this video right in a second. I have one favorite bit and then I'll catch you all. So back in 2010, Andy Nixon and Pete Riley were both playing a tribute show for Pink Floyd together, and after that Manchester show ended, Pete Riley approached Andy with a demo for a song he's been working on that needed some guitars added to. So Andy listened to the demo and he kinda really liked it, so he took home the song, and 1 week after that he added some guitars, but moreover than that he added some bass, some drums and backing vocals. So Pete, despite having his song basically completely changed by this point, really loved that mixing and everything just clicked for him. And one thing led to another, and so in 2010 the band Freedom to Glide was formed, and the two players didn't go searching for others to fill in the necessary roles, they just stayed together, the two of them making music. Now, as great as that might be, that has made their sound more reliant on synthesized sounds and of course less playable live. But the band didn't mind that, and they actually went along and released 3 separate albums, and today's album we're looking at, which is called Fall, was released in 2016 and it is their second album. Now, over on the Prog archives, Freedom to Glide are categorized as being crossover prog, but I have 2 objections to that categorization. The first one basically being that crossover prog usually most of the times is taking a lot of influence from other musical genres, but as it seems with this one, it really doesn't do all of that at all. And secondly, I'd even have to argue this being prog in the first place, I think that it kind of flirts with some progressive ideas, but never really goes to being actually progressive. And I would have to say that if I had to categorize this, I'd say that it's unfortunately more akin to neo-prog, seeing as most songs are basically repetitive and pretty basic all throughout. Yes, this is unfortunately what sounds to me like neo-prog nowadays, of course, because back in the day, as I always mention, neo-prog was something different and much more enjoyable to listen to. This album actually really reminded me of another band we've listened to on this series, being Jadis. Now, Jadis are of course a neo-prog band, but the thing that I really like about them, besides, the fact that they're basic and pretty repetitive, is the fact that they don't just go heavy for no reason like a lot of neo-prog bands does. They actually go for a more mellow, quieter sound, which is actually pretty relaxing, and this album is quite the same. You can see some parts on this album which are kind of reminiscent to Pink Floyd, because of course that's their origin, much like a band like RPWL, which also started off as a Pink Floyd cover band. We do get some of those hints. I think the most prominent one comes in the second track called Silent Code, which has the similar bells to songs like Fat Old Sun or High Hopes. But yeah, it's pretty funny. I listened to this album over on Spotify, and as I listened to it, the first third of this album had supported lyrics on each of their songs, but I think to myself that someone at the headquarters of Spotify was going like listening to this album and thinking, yeah, no one's gonna listen from this point onwards. And suddenly the last 2/3 of this album just don't have any lyrics supported on them, and that's pretty funny if you ask me. But yeah, this album really isn't much. As I said, I didn't really suffer listening to it. It just is not a lot, it's pretty mediocre. You do have some parts where it has the string instrument sections which are obviously synthesized, which I did really not like in this album. It's like painfully obvious that they're synthesized, and they don't even match to their actual real life counterparts. If I did have to mention some brighter moments on this album, I'd have to go with the song Enigma for its really long guitar solo, which is pretty nice, and the song Another Same, which to me is the best one from this album because it mostly consists of a guitar, bass, and a bit of drums here and there, but I mostly like it for it just being acoustic. But yeah, that's about it for this album actually. I am pretty surprised that I was recommended this album in particular, seeing as this is the one which is the least liked album of theirs out of the 3 over on the Prog archives, but to be honest, their ratings aren't really all that different from one another, so this one is just a tad worse than their other 2. see this cover? What is it? Why is it so basic and cringy? Like, honestly, you couldn't be more basic than this. It's like an eye shedding a tear and it's called Fall, and it's like, oh yeah, we're so, oh. But yeah, one thing though, if you have a really nice band logo of the F2G, which basically means freedom to glide, if you're so confident in that band logo, why do you have to put your name like below it? It just doesn't look. Choose one, use it, go all the way with it. So as I said, this album wasn't a suffer to go through. It was pretty pleasant, but honestly very mediocre in every way. So of course it's getting the very understandable score of 5 out of 10. But that's about it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video and stay tuned for tomorrow because we're gonna be listening to Crossing the Line by Asia Minor. Minor the adjective, not the profession. I of course want to thank my lovely supporter over on Patreon, so thank you so much to Clay Wallenham. You are the best, and if any of you want to support me over on Patreon, you can find the link down in the description or in my about page. But that's about it, guys. Have a wonderful day and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye, guys.